Hello everyone, this is Marco, aka Ramos. I am a Brazilian content creator, but I will bring this video in English because I noticed there is still no content about the uniques that were determined from the Diablo IV beta. So without further ado, let's get to the juicy stuff. When I was looking Lothric Diablo IV build calculator, I have noticed it was using data mine paragons and also uniques. So I decided to fix the writing of those uniques and bring them here for mine and your pleasure. We shall see what kind of uniques we can expect from Diablo IV. Let's start with the generic ones, and go after the class-based ones after this. The link for Lothric GitHub will be in the description below for those who want to venture further in this endeavor. Two-handed sword, the grandfather. Increase your critical strike damage by a percentage. The other properties on this weapon can roll higher than normal. I have a question about this. Is this fixed or random other properties? And if random, is this just for this sword or for all uniques? That's a good question because it will say a lot about its itemization. One-handed axe, the butcher's cleaver. Lucky hit. When you critically strike an enemy, you have up to a percentage chance to fear and slow them by a percentage for X seconds. Pretty simple. Critical strikes for some crowd control. One-handed sword, Doombringer. Lucky hit. Up to a percentage chance to deal X flat shadow damage to surrounding enemies and reduce their damage done by a percentage for X seconds. Pretty straightforward, easy to understand, we just need to know the numbers. Amulet, Melted Heart of Selig. Gain a percentage maximum resource. In addition, when you take damage, drain X flat resource for every a percentage of life you would have lost instead. It is not really easy to understand if you will do both, be drained and lose your life, or you will just be drained because there's the stat instead in the end. Let's say we need to see it working to really say if it is good or bad. Boots, Penitent Greaves. You leave behind a trail of frost that chills enemies. You do percentage more damage to chilled enemies. Simple and nice. Chest, Razor Plate. Gains X Thorns. To be fair, we don't know how much is X, but this seems really underwhelming. Gloves, Fists of Fate. Your attacks randomly deal 10% to 200 or 300% of their damage. In fact, the 200 to 300 is a random possibility. Man, this is underwhelming. I'd say 240 should be the minimum number of this to roll to be at least usable. This makes basically all your damage like lightning damage. Gloves, Frostburn. Lucky hit. Up to a percentage chance to freeze enemies for X seconds. You simply get lucky and the enemies are crowd controlled. Helm, Andariel's Visage. Lucky hit. Up to a percentage chance to trigger a Poison Nova that applies flat poisoning damage over X seconds to enemies in an area. Without knowing the numbers, it's very difficult to think if this is good or bad. Helm, Harlequin Crest. Gain X percentage damage reduction. In addition, gain X ranks to all skills. Really D2 vibes here. Pants, Temerity. The fact that he will be on the percentage life grants you a barrier up to a percentage of your maximum life that lasts for X seconds. Seems pretty decent. Ring, Mother's Embrace. If a core skill hits X or more enemies, a percentage of the resource cost is refunded. Nice. Ring of Starless Sky. Each consecutive core skill cast reduces the resource cost of your next core skill by a percentage, up to a maximum percentage. Who doesn't love to spam? Opening our class-based uniques, let's start with the Sorceress. One-handed Wand, Flamescar. While channeling Incinerate, you periodically shoot Ember that are attracted to enemies, each dealing X flat fire damage. Two-handed Staff, Staff of Endless Rage. Every third cast of Fireball launches 2 additional projectiles. Two-handed Staff. Staff of Lamb Essen. Charged bolts pierce, but deal a percentage less damage. Two-handed Staff. Isadora's Overflowing Cameo. On collecting crackling energy, there is a percentage chance to release a lightning nova, dealing X flat lightning damage. As crackling energy is a great mechanic and it's very nice to use, I hope this finds its way in-game. Boot. Jesus Heirloom. Your critical strike chance is increased by a percentage of your movement speed bonus. Although seems pretty generic, it is determined as a sorceress unique. Yes, Raiment of the Infinite. After using Teleport, close enemies are pulled to you and stunned for X seconds. The teleport's cooldown is increased by a percentage. Gloves. Gloves of the Illuminator. Fireball now bounces as it travels, exploding each time it hits the ground, but its explosion deals a percentage less damage. Pants. Ice Heart Brace. Enemies that die while frozen have a percentage chance to unleash a Frost Nova. Pretty cool, huh? Now let's start with the Barbarian. One-handed Sword. Ramaladni's Magnus Opus. Skills using this weapon do a percentage increased damage per point of fury you have, but you lose X fury every second. This seems to create some cool builds, huh? Two-handed X. Ancient's Oath. Steel Grasp launches 2 additional chains. Enemies hit by Steel Grasp are slowed by a percentage for X seconds. Good old get over here. Two-handed Mace. Hellhammer. Upheaval ignites the ground, burning enemies for an additional X flat damage over X seconds. Burn, baby, burn. Two-handed Mace. Overkill. Death Blow creates a shockwave, dealing a percentage of its base damage to enemies. Enemies who die these effects also reset Death Blow's cooldown. Why not give area to an already strong skill? Two-handed Sword. Fields of Crimson. While using this weapon, damaging at least one enemy with Rupture creates a blood pool that inflicts flat bleeding damage over X seconds. Enemies standing in the pool takes a percentage increased bleeding damage. So you make mobs bleed on each other, which makes them bleed even more. Interesting. Amulet. Battle Trance. Increase Frenzy's maximum stacks by X. While you have maximum Frenzy, your other skills gains a percentage increased speeds. The fast and the frenzy, baby. Boots. 100,000 steps. After gaining the final damage bonus from the Walking Arsenal key passive, you automatically cast Ground Stomp and gain X Fury. This cannot happen more than once every X seconds. Chest. Rage of Harrogath. Lucky Hit. Up to a percentage chance to reduce the cooldowns of your non-ultimate skills by X seconds when you inflict bleeding on elites. Gloves. Gore's Devastating Grips. Whirlwind explodes after it ends, dealing a percentage of the total base damage dealt to surrounding enemies as fire damage. Not named Intest Mace Two-Hander. Consecutive Hammers of the Ancients increase the next cast's damage by a percentage, and its radius by a percentage. Now please, give it a name and give me that. Now the Druid, and let's start with a one-handed axe. Waxing Gibbos. Gain stealth for X seconds when killing enemies with Shred. Breaking stealth with an attack grants Ambush, which guarantees critical strikes for X seconds. So, is this a druid or a rogue? Two-handed Staff. Great Staffs of the Crown. Claw is now a Storm skill and also casts Storm Strike at a percentage normal damage. Now there are 2 chests with similar effects. First, Mad Wolf's Glee. Werewolf form is now your true form, and you gain +2 ranks to all werewolf skills. Second, Insatiable Fury. Werebear form is now your true form, and you gain +2 ranks to all werebear skills. Both chests seems pretty decent. Helm. Tempest Roar. Lucky Hit. Storm skills have up to a percentage chance to grant X Spirit. Your base storm skills are now also werewolf skills. Helm, Vasily Sprayer. Your earth skills are now also werebear skills and fortify you for X. Pants, Storm's Companion. Your wolf companions are infused with the power of the storm, dealing lightning damage and gaining the Storm Howl ability. So, does my wolves become Thor, the god of thunder? Ring, Hunter's Zenith. Gain a bonus when you kill with a shape-shifting skill. If you are in werewolf form, your next non-ultimate werebear skill costs no resource and has no cooldown. If you are in werebear form, your next werewolf skill will heal you for X when your damage is first dealt. Kinda seems tiring. Before we go on, please click the like button so we can reach more people. Now, let's go to the Necro Uniques. One-Handed Scythe, Black River. Corpse Explosion consumes up to X additional corpses around the initial corpse, dealing a percentage increased damage and a percentage larger radius per additional corpse. Two-Handed Scythe, Bloodless Spring. Your Darkness skill chill enemies for up to a percentage. Lucky Hit. Your Darkness skills have up to a percentage chance to generate X additional essence against frozen targets. Amulet, Death Speaker's Pendant. Blood Surge casts a mini nova on your minions, dealing X damage. Damage is increased by a percentage per target drained by initial cast, up to a percentage. This seems really cool to see happening. Boot, Greaves of the Empty Tomb. Create desecrated ground beneath your Severe Spectres as they travel, damaging enemies for X shadow damage over X seconds. Chest, Blood Artisan's Cuirass. When you pick up X blood orbs, a free bone spirit is spawned, dealing bonus damage based on your current life percent. Anything for extra free bonus spirits. Gloves, Howl of Below. Instead of detonating immediately, Corpse Explosions summons a volatile skeleton that charges at a random enemy and explodes. Corpse Explosions damage is increased by a percentage. What's better than explode a corpse? Sending the corpse to find what to explode. Helm, Deathless Visage. Bone spears leaving behind echoes as it travels that explode, dealing X flat damage. Ring, Ring of Mandown. While you have X or more minions, you gain Lucky Hit, up to a percentage chance to empower all of your minions, causing the next attack from each of them to explode for X flat physical damage. Boom, boom, boom! Last but not least, the Rogue Uniques. One-Handed Dagger, Condemnation. Your core skill deals a percentage increased damage when spending 3 combo points. Your basic skills using this weapon has a chance to generate 3 combo choice at once. Amazing. One-Handed Dagger, Yada's Kanjar. Hits with this weapon increase your attack speed by a percentage for X seconds, up to a percentage. It seems you will attack very fast. Two-Handed Bow, Sky Hunter. The first direct damage you deal to an enemy is a guaranteed critical strike. If you had maximum stacks of the Precision Key passive, when you cast this skill, gain X energy. This can only happen once per cast. Two-Handed Bow, Wind Force. Lucky Hit. Hits with this weapon have a percentage chance to deal double damage and knock back the target. Don't mind if I do. Gloves, Grasp of Shadow. Lucky Hit. Damaging a vulnerable enemy with a marksman or a cutthroat skill has up to a percentage chance to summon a shadow clone that mimics your attack. If these gloves use your skill shadow clone, this will be OP. Now, Call of the Nameless. You gain a percentage increased lucky hit chance against crowd-controlled enemies. Again, a pre-generic attribute in a unique that is for rogues. Pants, Eyes in the Dark. Unless it hits a boss or player, Death Trap will continue to rearm itself until it kills an enemy. However, Death Trap's cooldown is increased by a percentage. Seems very good for trash, huh? Amulet, Ward of Hakan. Your rain of arrows is always imbued with all imbuement at once. The creme de la creme. This thing reeks OP in it. And that's it, everyone. Thank you for hearing me out, and if you want to help me upgrade my PC gear, there's a PayPal link in the description below. Don't forget to like it. Have a nice day, and see you in Sanctuary.